Amelia and Richard, a couple bound by an eerie connection, embarked on a sinister journey that spanned across 3 different parties in one fateful night. Their appearances were deceiving, for to the casual observer, they seemed like any other elegant couple attending these exclusive gatherings. The first party was held at the sprawling mansion of a wealthy socialite, nestled deep in the heart of the city. The opulent villa was renowned for its grand swimming pool, the epicenter of that evening's festivities. Guests, draped in luxurious attire, reveled under the moonlit sky, their laughter echoing through the lavish gardens. Amelia and Richard had effortlessly blended into the glamorous scene, their haunting secret concealed beneath charming smiles and sophisticated conversations. As they moved gracefully among the crowd, their presence unnoticed, they began to weave a web of malevolence. Amelia, with her entrancing beauty, had a knack for drawing unsuspecting individuals towards the pool's edge. There, under the soft glow of underwater lights, her victims met their sinister fate. But what truly terrified them was not the pull of her hand but the monstrous transformation they witnessed as she dragged them into the depths. To those unfortunate souls, Amelia's elegant visage contorted into a grotesque mask of terror, her eyes filled with an otherworldly malevolence. They gasped for air, their heartbeats racing in sheer horror, as they glimpsed the truth that lay beneath her alluring facade. The monstrous form, an embodiment of their own guilt and transgressions, drowned them in a watery grave. As each victim met their demise, the pool's waters remained undisturbed, hiding the nightmarish reality from the oblivious partygoers. Amelia and Richard, soaked in the lingering fear and despair of their victims, moved on to the next party. The second gathering was a gala affair, hosted at a historic mansion adorned with crystal chandeliers and antique furnishings. The centerpiece of this event was an indoor swimming pool, surrounded by glistening marble columns. The party's attendees reveled in their extravagance, oblivious to the malevolent force that had entered their midst. Richard, with his imposing presence, played the charming host, guiding unsuspecting guests towards the pool's edge. There, beneath the soft radiance of the moonlight streaming through the grand windows, he revealed his true form to his prey. Each victim saw a monstrous specter, a grotesque amalgamation of their deepest fears and darkest secrets. The nightmarish entity reached out with skeletal hands, dragging them into the abyss. Their screams of terror echoed in the opulent hall as they descended into the inky depths. Back in the pool, the water remained eerily calm, its surface undisturbed by the sinister events unfolding beneath. Richard and Amelia reveled in their gruesome task, their appearance shifting from a refined couple to abhorrent nightmares in the eyes of their victims. As the second party came to an end, and their roster of victims grew, the couple, now drenched in dread and malevolence, proceeded to their final destination, the third and most exclusive party of the night. The third gathering was held at a modern penthouse, overlooking the city's glittering skyline. The rooftop pool, surrounded by sleek glass railings, offered breathtaking views and an aura of sophistication. The elite guests, ignorant of the horrors that had unfolded elsewhere that night, indulged in extravagance and decadence. Amelia and Richard arrived, their malevolent energy palpable as they entered the party. Under the moonlit sky, they executed their sinister plan once more. Victims were lured to the pool's edge, where they were confronted with the nightmarish apparitions of the couple's true forms. Their final moments were consumed by sheer terror as they gazed upon the monstrous entities that had emerged from Amelia and Richard's elegant facades. The malevolent figures, an embodiment of their deepest fears and most profound sins, plunged them into the pool's dark abyss. In the end, the water remained serene, concealing the horrors that had transpired beneath its surface. The couple, now fully transformed into the monsters they had hidden so well, vanished into the night. As dawn approached, and the last party concluded, the truth remained hidden. The sinister journey of Amelia and Richard continued, their souls forever bound by a malevolent connection, traversing from swimming pool to swimming pool across the nation. Their message was clear: never to misbehave, for the consequences were far more terrifying than anyone could imagine.
In the infernal depths of hell, where Dante's vision seemed like a mere bedtime story compared to the real horrors that unfolded, a tale of torment and twisted compassion was unfolding. Amidst the perpetual blaze and the agonized wails of lost souls, there resided an unlikely character. Tony, a diminutive devil with crimson skin, sharp-pointed ears, and horns that curled like wicked tendrils, held an anomalous place in the infernal hierarchy. Unlike his fiendish counterparts, he bore a peculiar empathy for humanity. His small, glowing eyes, often marred by the scalding tears of the damned, held a glimmer of something that devils should never possess: mercy. It was Tony's role to inflict gruesome punishments upon the souls that descended into the abyss. His whip, its barbed tendrils seething with malevolent energy, was meant to etch new layers of torment into the already tortured. But it was Tony's secrets that would one day bring about his own, unparalleled suffering. In the darkest corners of hell, amidst the soul-chilling winds that echoed with haunting lamentations, Tony committed an act so unthinkable that it sent shivers through the demon ranks. He allowed his wretched subjects moments of respite. He slipped them morsels of infernal sustenance when ravenous hunger gnawed at their essence. He refrained from wielding his whip with full fury, sparing them from an even more excruciating agony. And, in the most outrageous defiance of his diabolical duty, Tony engaged in intimate acts of kindness. When the infernal decree demanded savage coupling, Tony, his heart a vile cocktail of emotions he should never have possessed, found solace in a different kind of communion. He made love to these souls, and in those stolen moments, a twisted connection between tormentor and tormented was forged. Such abhorrent deeds could not evade the watchful gaze of the higher devils, the malevolent overlords of hell. They looked upon Tony's actions with a malevolence even darker than the flames that surrounded them. Tony's disobedience was not to be tolerated, for it threatened the very fabric of their sadistic realm. The day of reckoning arrived. Tony was summoned before the devil himself, a nightmarish entity whose eyes burned with an insatiable hunger for suffering. His voice, a symphony of torment, resonated through Tony's being as he stood quaking before the malevolent sovereign. "Why, Tony," the devil hissed, his voice a searing lash. "Why do you defy the very essence of hell, the torment that fuels our existence?" Tony stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. I only wanted to alleviate their suffering, to show them a glimmer of mercy." The devil's laughter was a grotesque cacophony, echoing through the nightmarish realm. "Mercy, in hell? You jest, Tony. For your defiance, you shall know a torment unlike any other." And thus, Tony's punishment began, a sentence that would echo through the eternities. The scene shifted, and the once fiery devil now bore a startling transformation. His scarlet skin faded to a sickly shade of pink, a sickly mockery of the vitality he once possessed. His horns twisted and contorted, their malevolent beauty now warped into grotesque shapes, like gnarled branches of a cursed tree. At the tip of his once fiery tail, the flames that once burned brightly now sputtered and died, leaving nothing but an ashen husk. But the most chilling transformation of all was the appearance of a halo, perched mockingly upon his head. The symbol of divine grace, juxtaposed against the hellish backdrop, seemed like an affront to the very nature of his being. With his newfound form, Tony was cast into an existence of perpetual torment. He floated through heaven, his every movement defying the laws of this infernal domain. Clouds of happiness surrounded him, as he wept and wailed, his cries merging with the ceaseless lamentations of the damned. "No, no, why is this happening to me?" Tony moaned, his voice a pitiful dirge that blended with the symphony of suffering. His once merciful heart now ached with a longing for the infernal brutality he had once abhorred. As Tony drifted aimlessly through this nightmarish metamorphosis, he was the embodiment of the twisted paradox that defined hell itself, an entity who had once cradled a glimmer of compassion, now plunged into an abyss of unending torment. The tale of Tony, the devil-turned-angel, served as a chilling reminder to all who traversed the realms of hell. It was a lesson etched in the annals of the infernal, a warning that even the faintest spark of mercy would be met with a punishment more harrowing than the mind could fathom. Hell, it seemed, had depths beyond depths, horrors beyond horrors, and a capacity for suffering that knew no bounds.